Like, what the f you want about 50 Cent? But I swear this man's pettiness is uncanny. Like, this nigga, I feel is everybody's alter ego.
But Rick also has a baby mother who's currently working as a call girl. He has a daughter by Brooke.
Welcome back to StarHush, where the tea is hot, the drama is endless, and the truth always comes to light. Today, we're breaking down a feud that's been running for over a decade, Rick Ross versus 50 Cent. But this time, it's not just about music. Ross might have spent years acting like he's too rich and too powerful to be bothered, but his own baby mama just dropped a bombshell about what's really been going on behind closed doors. And trust me, it's worse than anyone ever thought. See, the same Rick Ross who built an entire empire around being a boss, the man who flaunts his wealth and flexes his power every chance he gets, is allegedly losing sleep over one enemy he can't shake. And when Ross finally decided to strike back, it wasn't just about keeping up appearances, it was about survival. And you won't even believe how this whole war started. It wasn't some diss track. It wasn't some business deal gone wrong. It wasn't even a street level conflict. It started over a look. That's right, a single glance. Back in 2008 at the BET Awards, Ross took one look at 50 Cent and for whatever reason decided he had a personal problem. Now 50? He had no idea there even was an issue. Later on, he even admitted he didn't remember seeing Ross at the event. But Ross, oh, he took that as pure disrespect. And in the world of hip-hop, a little thing like that is all it takes to start a war. And we all know if there's one person you don't want to go to war with, it's 50 Cent. This man doesn't just win feuds, he destroys his enemies, leaving them no room to breathe. And from the moment Ross declared war, 50 started moving like a chess master, making sure that Ross would never recover from what was coming. Now let's get into what Ross's baby mama revealed and why this so-called boss has been watching his back ever since.
50, they've had a long-standing beef for years. And I think this Rick Ross beef is the one beef that 50 will never let go of.
Rick Ross was at the peak of his career, living that untouchable rap mogul life. He had 2 platinum albums, his Maybach music brand was gaining traction, and he was steadily solidifying his image as the ultimate boss of hip-hop. In his mind, he was sitting comfortably at the top, powerful, respected, and feared. But all it took was one look at the 2008 BET Awards for everything to change. It could have been paranoia or maybe an overinflated ego, but for whatever reason, Ross convinced himself that 50 Cent had disrespected him, and instead of brushing it off, he saw this as the perfect moment to take his shot at one of the most ruthless figures in hip-hop history. That was his first mistake, because here's the kicker. 50 Cent had no idea what Ross was talking about. In later interviews, he straight up admitted he didn't even remember seeing Ross that night. That's how unbothered he was. But Ross, oh, he took that disrespect and ran with it. And that's where everything spiraled out of control. What Ross failed to realize is that 50 Cent doesn't do little feuds. He doesn't just clap back with a diss track and keep it moving, he goes nuclear. He plays chess, not checkers. Ross thought he was about to create some entertainment drama, get his name next to one of the biggest rappers in the game, and build some extra buzz around his brand.
It was sort of embarrassing to me, you know, because as you listen to his raps, you would definitely believe him, but I mean, it was surprising that he would sit there and say he spends $200 a month on food, $300 a month on clothes, his jewelry is rented, he don't know where the money came from to put a down payment on a $1 million home. And you know, it's just sad, you know, and I just want to prove the facts today here on This Is 50. It's all real.
Also has a baby mother who's currently working as a call girl. He has a daughter by Brooke, right there. Can you see that? This is like the adult. This is like where you can find really exclusive horror.
Down from the position. And I asked him about it. You know, of course he denied it, which his sister confirmed it and told me that he was a correction officer. And, you know,
Rick Ross didn't just take a few shots in an interview, he went straight for the kill shot. He loaded up and fired off mafia music, a diss track that wasn't just about bragging rights, it was personal. He took aim at 50 Cent's darkest controversy, the 2008 house fire that nearly ended in tragedy. See, 50's ex-girlfriend and mother of his child, Shaniqua Tompkins, had already gone public, blaming 50 for the fire that destroyed her home while 6 people were inside. Authorities never pinned it on 50, but the whispers never stopped. Ross knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just poking the bear, he was slapping it in the face. The moment Ross rapped about that fire, the gloves were off. He wasn't just throwing playful shade, he was digging up real-life trauma, trying to paint 50 as a monster who would do anything to silence those who crossed him. But the problem? 50 Cent wasn't the type to let that slide. And Ross didn't stop there. Feeling cocky and untouchable, he doubled down, boasting about his dominance in hip-hop, acting like he had already won the war before it even started. He started doing interviews, flexing, making it seem like 50 Cent was old news and that he was the new king of the streets. But Ross clearly forgot one thing. 50 Cent doesn't just rap beef, he destroys reputations. He wasn't just gonna drop a diss track and keep it moving, he was gonna pull Rick Ross apart, brick by brick, exposing everything he didn't want the world to know. And when 50 went digging, what he found changed everything.
I'm deciding to your life up. Rick, bro, I'm gonna your life up.
50 Cent didn't just clap back, he went for total destruction. And his first move? Exposing Rick Ross for who he really was. Ross had built his whole career off the image of a street boss, a man who came up from the trenches flipping weight, making power moves like a true kingpin. But 50 had the one thing that could tear it all down, proof that it was all a lie. Receipts hit the internet like an explosion. Suddenly, pictures of Rick Ross in a correctional officer uniform started circulating everywhere. The man who rapped about running the streets, turns out he was actually working for the system. Instead of moving product, he was moving prison paperwork. And 50 didn't just let the internet do the work. Oh no, he made sure that everybody knew. He called him out, mocked him in interviews, and plastered those CO pictures everywhere. On social media, in diss tracks, and even in memes. It was brutal. Ross's whole brand, the image of a certified street king, was now in pieces, but 50 wasn't finished yet. He wanted first-hand dirt, so he went straight to the closest person to Ross, who had nothing to lose. His own baby mama, Tia Kemp. And Tia, she was more than ready to talk. She sat down with 50 and let it all out. She painted a completely different picture of the so-called boss the world thought they knew. According to Tia, Rick Ross wasn't living like a king. He was faking the whole thing. She exposed that Ross was leasing cars, borrowing jewelry, and renting mansions just to keep up the image. Behind the scenes, his so-called empire was built on smoke and mirrors. And if that wasn't bad enough, Tia didn't hesitate to confirm what everyone suspected. The officer rumors were 100% true.
I just kicked Rick ass. Kicked Rick Ross' ass, right?
Where was Rick Ross in all of this? Silent. And that silence, loud. There was nothing he could do to take it back, no way to erase the truth. 50 Cent had done the unthinkable. The internet had already eaten up the scandal and the damage was irreversible. At this point, the Officer Ricky narrative was everywhere. Every meme, every diss track, every joke was dragging Ross. His credibility was in shambles. His brand was mocked in every corner of hip-hop. But if you thought 50 was done, oh no, he took things to an entirely new level. That's when 50 made a critical mistake. He went too far. Instead of just destroying Ross's image, he decided to humiliate him personally. He leaked a private tape featuring another one of Ross's baby mamas, Lastonia Leviston. And this move backfired hard. Ross may have laughed off the Officer Ricky scandal, but this was different. Lastonia wasn't playing. She took 50 to court, hitting him with a massive lawsuit for emotional distress. And when the dust settled, 50 lost. That lawsuit hit him where it hurt the most, his wallet. The court slapped him with a $5 million penalty, and for the first time in this entire war, 50 actually took an L. The financial blow was so heavy that he had to file for bankruptcy. It was the one misstep that cost him big. Meanwhile, Rick Ross, He kept it moving. He stayed dropping music, dodging the drama, acting like none of it even fazed him. And shockingly, the fans started to move on too. The Officer Ricky narrative wasn't hitting like it used to. Ross's reputation took a hit, sure, but he still had his music, his fan base, and his empire kept growing. Fast forward to today, and just when everyone thought this beef was dead, Tia Kemp decided she wasn't done. She hopped on Instagram Live and let the world know Rick Ross is still scared of 50. And why? Because 50 Cent knows too much.
We finna clock this T right here. Renee says you wanna stay keeping up. We finna talk about some real tea. Brother over there paying people to put out. He over there paying people to put out. And running off with his money and it's getting back to me. So now I'm finna send the feds over there to y'all motherfucking empire. See, you had the right bitch today. We gonna talk about Miss Carol. Y'all know who Miss Carol is. You know that's behind your brother. I'm finna make sure her family sue y'all whole estate. Cause that case is not closed.
Tia didn't hold back. She claimed Ross had secrets, deep, dark secrets, that he's been desperately trying to keep buried. And the mess? It got even messier. Old photos from Tia's 2009 Smooth magazine cover shoot resurfaced, setting the internet on fire all over again. Baby mama thirst traps? Nothing new in the industry. But these pics? They weren't just scandalous. They were downright savage. It wasn't just what Tia Kemp was wearing, a barely there lace set, sheer sparkles, and fiery red heels. It was who was behind the camera. 50 Cent. Yup, Rick Ross's biggest enemy was out here personally curating a photo shoot for Ross's baby mama. And if that wasn't enough to send Ross spiraling, Smooth magazine decided to stir the pot even more. The headline? Where's the beef? And then the real dagger. Guest editor 50 Cent introduces Rick Ross's baby mama Tia. Like 50 didn't just help Tia secure the cover. He made damn sure Rick Ross knew exactly who was responsible. That moment, legendary levels of petty. But just when you thought the tension cooled off, these two are still finding ways to take shots at each other. And now, the beef has taken a wild new turn. The latest drama? Rick Ross linking up with Big Meech after his release from prison. And if you know anything about 50, you know this wasn't gonna sit right. Why? Because 50 Cent is the executive producer of the BMF TV series, a show that literally helped keep the BMF legacy alive while Meech was behind bars. So for Big Meech to step out of prison and immediately align himself with Rick Ross, pure betrayal, and you better believe 50 wasted no time reacting. He hopped on Instagram and dropped a shady post featuring a giant rat with the caption, "I think I'm Big Meech." Phew. The level of disrespect, unmatched. But that, not even the worst part. In the caption, 50 made it crystal clear. Meech made a major mistake by distancing himself from one person. Tammy Cowens. Who's Tammy? Glad you asked, because this is where things get even wilder. Tammy wasn't just Meech's assistant, she was his business partner, the person who helped handle his affairs behind the scenes. But the plot twist, she allegedly flipped and became an FBI informant. And just when you thought the situation couldn't get any more chaotic, guess who jumped into the mess, laughing at how pressed 50 was over Meech taking a picture with Ross. You guessed it, Rick Ross himself. The back and forth between 50 Cent and Rick Ross? Non-stop. But if there's one person who enjoys clowning Ross just as much as 50 does, it's his own baby mama, Tia Kemp. And this time, she took things to a whole new level. Tia dragged Ross straight into the Diddy freak-off party scandal, claiming he was knee-deep in the same shady mess that got Diddy slapped with those federal trafficking charges.
Like the fucking Diddy doula parties. I'm in this. That's another thing. When is we gonna see you over there with Sean? Give dog a fucking hug like I said. He was on his nuts. Oh, that fucking year. You and Callie, big fat. Callie, your fat ass go out there and cut your yard trying to go viral like Will with no shoes on. Boy, we know goddamn dude, you ain't cutting nothing but a fucking tongue. You scared now? No Diddy, huh? You scared now, huh? I know y'all on them tapes. Freaky. I know you is. 10 churn have. It's time to show them churns now. I ain't gonna let off.
She didn't just hint at it, she flat out told him. Tia mocked Ross publicly. telling him he might want to check in on his friend Diddy, throwing major shade at their past wild parties and that strange social media bromance they used to flaunt. And that wasn't even the first time she put Ross on blast. Tia hopped on Instagram Live, clowning him for staying silent about Diddy's mess, calling him out for acting like he didn't see what was happening. And trust, she didn't come empty-handed. Tia brought receipts and wasn't scared to name drop. But just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, Tia took it a step further. She claimed Rick Ross himself wasn't just guilty by association. She implied he was involved in putting hits on people. And her next move? She says she's about to blow the whistle and send federal agents straight to his doorstep. And then, things took a real dark turn. Tia dropped a bomb that left fans absolutely stunned. She hinted at a murder. She brought up the name Miss Carroll, suggesting that Ross had a direct connection to the tragedy. Now, if you're wondering who is Ms. Carroll, Tia claimed Miss Carroll was murdered after leaving her mother's house and that her death was tied to Ross and his crew. She didn't stop there. She also referenced a man who was shot right in front of Black House, another potential link to Ross's circle. And then she took it to the mic. In an episode of Carisha Please, Tia spilled even more tea.
10 years of the back and forth. If, people that's been around, I'm getting that. I don't need your fucking check. It wasn't even about your check. You didn't have that when I met you. So my baby wasn't a check baby. All of the 9 or 10 kids you got now, those are check babies.
She got 10 kids now?
Oh yeah, y'all didn't know that? See, he only acknowledged toy or whatever y'all know about, whatever y'all could Google, but girl, it's about 9 or 10 children. We're talking about Drake, girl, he got one that looked just like Drake from a Russian woman. I can't wait till he put that one out there. What you waiting on, fat back? Can you imagine having a parent that's, been in and out, being supportive at one point and not being supportive, and you just in the middle of things. You have done nothing. Regardless of what me and Ross' issues are, he's not supposed to take that out on my son. And for years, he has been using Lil Will as a scapegoat because he know that's the only thing can hurt. Father that was there throughout the past couple years of his high school football games. Why you couldn't make it to his high school graduation? You could have stood on the other side of the auditorium.
And you think that was because of you?
Of course. It's to trigger me in some certain way, make him feel a certain way. Renee's in the middle of everything because she handle everything for Will. So Will listen to a lot of things that Renee says. You get what I'm saying? Renee is a bitter person because she's never had a man to not do anything, to be honest with you. She's always been in our business and just not happy for her brother. And I just don't have no respect for that. She know what I have done for her brother, and I've been there. It's not about money, fame, or any of that. She knows that her brother has a heart for me, and she can't take that because a man has never did what her brother is doing for other women to let with no intent to harm, battery on her, and aggravated battery to deadly weapon because she was trying to exit the gate of the development that I stayed in, and the car to make her stop, got out, we got into a fight, and I went to jail. Lil Will was in the back seat, he wasn't nothing but a year old, so they took me to jail and gave me child neglect with no intent to harm because I left him in the car to get out the car to fight, spin back and forth, and inconsistency with co-parenting and me being quiet and saying, screw this, let me do what I gotta do for my child, and then saying, bonk this, I'm being disrespected. Being disrespected. Love. You know what I mean? Because you can be loved all day, but being disrespected in the midst of love is one thing. You know what I'm saying? So it just got to a point to where I just said enough.
But this time, she wasn't just talking about hip-hop drama. She laid out the messy reality of co-parenting with Rick Ross, something she says she's been dealing with for 18 years, and she's tired. Imagine this, trying to raise a child while the other parent disappears, then pops back up like it's some kind of twisted game of peekaboo. Tia said she's had enough, and she wasn't just there to talk about flashy headlines. She was ready to spill every single piece of dirty laundry Ross has been trying to hide. And guess what? She claimed Ross has way more kids than he's letting on. She even hinted that Ross has a secret child with a Russian woman, a secret he's apparently been keeping on the low. But it's deeper than Ross just being a father. According to Tia, Ross isn't focused on his kids. He's focused on flexing his power, his ego, and his money. She told Young Miami about the time Ross tried to send their son off to some random college in Mississippi, not because it was good for their child, but because it made Ross look good. And if that wasn't enough, Tia painted a heartbreaking picture of their son growing up in the public eye, but feeling completely abandoned. She said her son is now at an HBCU, and it's hard for him having to explain to his classmates why his famous dad didn't even show up for his high school graduation. Let that sink in. A kid who had Ross cheering for him at football games, but when it came to one of the biggest milestones in his life, Rick Ross was nowhere to be found. Tia isn't holding back when it comes to calling out Rick Ross, but if there's one thing that really cuts deep, it's how he treats their own son like a pawn in his ongoing power games. She's made it crystal clear, this isn't just about child support or some messy co-parenting feud. It's about Ross treating their son like a publicity tool, using him when it benefits his image, then disappearing when it's time to actually show up as a father. And if you thought Ross was the only one catching heat, you'd be dead wrong. Because Tia's got a whole lot to say about Ross's sister Renee. And let's just say she's not a fan. Apparently, Renee has been meddling in Tia and Ross's business from the very start, inserting herself into co-parenting decisions, making backhanded comments, and overall stirring the pot whenever she gets a chance. Tia isn't just rolling her eyes at Renee's behavior, she's fed up. She straight up called Renee out, claiming that Ross's sister loves to play protector, acting like she's the gatekeeper of the family, but in reality, she's just making things worse. But the real jaw dropper? Tia also revealed that things have gotten physical before. She talked about an altercation she had with one of Ross's other baby mamas, and it wasn't just a petty argument. It turned into a serious situation, one that involved claims of child neglect and major legal issues. And this was Tia's breaking point. For years, she tried to keep the peace. For years, she dealt with Ross's absence, the empty promises, the media games, and the constant interference from his sister. But after 18 long years of biting her tongue, Tia is officially done. She's not protecting anyone's reputation anymore. She's not keeping quiet for the sake of peace anymore. She's telling her truth, and she's got the receipts to back it all up. But just when you thought things couldn't get messier, Tia dropped another bombshell. Rick Ross has been trying to shut her up for good. She revealed that Ross has been hitting her with cease and desist letters, threatening legal action if she doesn't stop spilling the tea. But Tia, she's not scared. She made it loud and clear, she's not backing down. She straight up laughed at Ross's legal threats, telling him to take his papers and shove them. At this point, the damage is already done. The internet is on fire, and people are connecting the dots. Ross tried to do damage control, but it's too late. Now, everyone is asking the real questions. Was there more to Ross's past than he let on? Is he hiding something darker? Did 50 Cent actually win this beef? Or did Ross somehow survive despite all the humiliation? Why is Ross so scared of 50? And more importantly, what does 50 know? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. So, my stars and hushers, what do you think? Is Rick Ross trying to keep secrets buried, or is Tia just stirring the pot? Did 50 completely destroy Ross, or did Ross find a way to bounce back? And what exactly does 50 know that has Ross losing sleep? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a single drop of tea. Check out the next video, it's even messier than this one.